If you're trying to get victory in your life and you feel stuck, like no matter what you do, it doesn't work out. You're trying with your spouse and your marriage is getting worse. You're praying and it seems like God is not answering. You're doing what you know to do with your finances, but the debt is piling up and the income isn't coming in. You decide, I'm going to pray, I'm going to read through the Bible, I'm even going to start fasting. But then life happens and we don't stick to those commitments. We tell God and our loved ones, I will never do that again. I'm sorry. I won't hurt you like this. But then we go back and we do the same things anyway. Why is it that the harder we try, the worse it seems to get? And we find ourselves asking, how do I get victory in my life? How do I get free from this sin? How do I break this addiction? How do I change these habits and quit falling into the same mess? Well, if you're asking yourself that question like I've asked myself millions of times before, then you're in the same boat as the disciples of Jesus who asked a similar question when they wanted to accomplish something but found themselves unable to do it. Let's check it out together in Mark chapter 9, where this boy is possessed by an evil spirit who stops him from talking or hearing, and the boy's dad takes him to 9 of Jesus' disciples and asks them to cast the spirit out. The disciples do everything they know to do. They use the name of Jesus, they try, they maybe scream, they may spit. We don't know what they do, but we do know that they do not cast the spirit out. Well, while this is taking place, Jesus, Peter, James, and John come down from the mountain and walk up to the crowd, where the boy's father takes him to Jesus and says, Christ, I tried to get your disciples to help me and they can't cast this demon out of my boy. Can you please help me? Well, after a brief conversation, Jesus casts the spirit out. The boy is set free, goes on about his business. But then the 9 disciples who had tried to cast the spirit out unsuccessfully come to Jesus privately and say, why weren't we able to cast that spirit out? Why did we try our hardest but nothing worked? Why did we give it our best effort and kept falling up short? In other words, why can't we get the victory in this area of our lives? Now, maybe you're not trying to cast a demon out of somebody's boy, but could it be that there's an area of your life where you keep struggling and asking God to help you and you decide to break free, but then you turn back around and fall into the same mess again? Is there something you, like the disciples, are asking God about and saying, how can I get victory? So let's see what Jesus tells the disciples so we can take his answer and apply it to our lives today. Now, to understand the significance of what he says, we have to understand in context that the disciples of Jesus had never fasted. John's disciples had fasted, but those of Christ never did. And so when Jesus tells them that this kind of spirit only comes out by prayer and fasting, he was telling them that this particular victory is something you cannot get at the current plane that you're living on. Maybe y'all are praying about it, you're doing all the right things, you're trying, your heart is right, but you can't get victory because you're doing the same things you've always done before. And unless you're willing to sacrifice on a deeper level, make some changes to your disciplines with Christ, go higher than you've ever gone before in God, then you can't get victory in certain areas of your lives because you're not the kind of people who can walk in victory over this particular situation. Had that not been the case, you would have been able to cast that spirit out. So likewise in our lives, when we are dealing with a situation that we keep coming back to, falling into over and over again, struggling with, and we can't break free from, then we've got to let God lead us into a deeper place of consecration. What do I need to do now to break this off of my life? Because everything I've done up to this point has gotten me here, but this is not where I want to be. So how does this apply practically? Well, maybe I'm working a job and using the extra money every month to pay off some debt, but it's not rolling the snowball like it needs to. So maybe I need to get a second job. Okay, I've prayed about my marriage. I've confronted my spouse, but maybe it's time now to get marriage coaching. I've prayed before. Well, maybe I should pray and fast. I've put out 2 job applications a day for the last 10 days and haven't gotten a single call back. Well, then I need to start putting out 5 a day and making those phone calls to those companies myself. In the disciples' case, Jesus gave them a next step, a higher level of commitment. He said, you cannot do this unless you start fasting, which is something they had never done up until that point. I don't know what your next step is, but I do know that what you've done so far has not gotten you victory in the area that you keep fighting. And so if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results. Why? Because nothing changes if nothing changes. So what does this mean for us? It means that we bring our situation to God and we say, here's my struggle. This is what I keep coming back to. I want victory in this area of my life. I've done A, B, and C. God, what is D? What is my next step? Show me in what area of my life you want me to 10x my actions. Show me what area you want me to scrap altogether. Give me the next step, because I can guarantee you 2 things. 1, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll stay exactly where you are. But 2, if you change what you're doing, you'll get different results. The way to get victory in life is to take the next step that God is showing you with an increased level of commitment and sacrifice. Now, I also understand that getting victory in our lives can sometimes be difficult when we're tied up in the past. Those feelings of of guilt and shame that won't let us go can be way too much to bear, and we sometimes need a fresh start in life. That's why I published I Failed God, Now What? This brief read shows us how to get victory in our lives after messing up and making a mistake. It shows us the one place we must visit, the one conversation we must have, the one change we must make, the one gift we must accept, the one lie we must refuse, the one person we must forgive, the one wrong we must amend, and the one decision we must make. And I've linked it for you in the description below. Let's stay connected through the subscribe button and notifications bell so we can see each other in the next video together.